Liverpool not won here in the Premier League in a decade. You've come and done it at the first attempt. Let's start with the how. How did you do it today?
By scoring a set piece. If you want to win a big game, at least what you need is a neutral set piece balance or score one and not concede. That's what we did, and we defended. Yeah, if you come here, you have to defend. We defended really well with so many players constantly around the ball, and that's why we could keep them away from big chances, because that they will have ball possession is clear. But you have to make sure that they can't create as much as they normally do.
Who deserves credit for the set piece? It looked, if you don't mind me saying, a little bit Bournemouth inspired. They scored one against Arsenal earlier in the season that I think you might have taken note of.
Yeah, now you tell me, I remember that one. It wasn't inspired by that. It's not me. It's we as a group of people look at how the setup is, and then in this situation, someone came up with a brilliant plan. It wasn't me, and and we knew that space could be there, and we trained it yesterday, and now because of a deflection, it went in, and that's so helpful because it wasn't that we were dominating the game.
It's quite an interesting tactical matchup, particularly at the beginning. It looked like City did something different with Foden up top, maybe sacrificing control in midfielders for attacking players. And you did something different as well with kind of 2 10s. So what was the thinking, and how did you feel that played out?
No, first half played out better for them than for us, apart from the score, of course, because we were 2-0 up, but they were dominating the game. I felt also in the first half that not that they had that many big chances, but it felt as if they could score any moment because we weren't really comfortable. And then we could set it up at halftime a bit clearer what we wanted from the players. And that helped us, I think, a lot, because in the second half, I cannot remember them having a big chance.
So did you feel like overall that you controlled it and managed it as you wanted, or just from what you're saying there, that actually they kind of forced you back more than you wanted?
Ideally, we have the ball more than the other team. That's what we are till now, maybe every single game we've played. But City is, when it comes to ball possession, the most difficult one to play against, because they like it a lot and they have players that are so comfortable on the ball. So I told before the game, the only chance you have to win here is you defend really well. So yes, we try to play as good as we can with the ball. But if we're not on top of our game defensively, you have no chance to win here because they're too comfortable with the ball.
Okay, so that's kind of the how. Let's get to what it means. What does it mean? Because it feels, with what happened yesterday with Arsenal, like a huge weekend. Like the weekend we might all look back on and say, yeah, that's where they clinched it.
Yeah, 3 days ago we had a draw at Villa and people told me we were not in a good place. And now for all of a sudden 3 days later it's exactly the opposite again. I know what we have to do to win our games. You could see it today, how hard we had to work. And there are 11 games to go, and if these players are able to keep on working this hard, we have a chance. Let that be clear. But like I said, we work every single day so hard to achieve this, that it's 3 months of very hard work to hopefully keep the results going as they are now.
So like you said, 11 games to go, 11 points clear. What is the key to managing it? You've done it before. You've won a title in Holland. So what's the secret?
Actually, there's not such a big secret. It's what I just said. We're 11 points clear, but Arsenal has 1 game in hand. So, what we did today, work as hard as we can and play the football in certain moments. We did really well today is also, I think, the best attack we had didn't end up in a goal. That started right with Trent and ended with Trent with an overlap. So it was a great attack, and you always have to adapt to the challenge you got. So if you play City away, it's a totally different challenge than if you play Plymouth Argyle away or Wolves at home. So a week ago, we experienced how difficult Wolves at home was. So 11 games to go, and they will all be difficult like the one today.
So it sounds like your job is, like we'd call it, keeping a lid on it. You know, media gets excited, you're going to get loads of questions about it. The fans get excited. You can't, the players can't, because you're the ones who've got to go out and get the results.
No, but it's also easier for us not to get excited because we know what fans just simply look at the 2 goals we scored and like, wow. And they don't look at all the work rate we've done to get this result, because this result was more about defense than it was about attack. So that's why it's normal for fans, every fan base that from a team that's leading the league, they are positive and it's up to us to understand why we are where we are, and these boys know really well, I think.
Well done today. Well played. Feels, Mo, like not just a really significant day, but a really significant weekend. How big a result do you think that is?
It's incredible. It's a very hard place to come and play here. Tough team. They have an incredible manager. They dominate the game. I think they can dominate any game here. But I'm glad in the end we managed to win the game.
How did you do it, Dom? Particularly interested actually in your role, because it looked like yourself and Curtis Jones almost like both false nines or both as tens.
No, that was the plan. We played with 2 tens. Yeah, as Mo said, yeah, they managed the game almost 90%. So, but at the end, the result is for us, and we are happy to take the 3 points home.
Even though they dominated a lot of the ball, did you kind of feel in control of it? Did you feel sort of fairly safe, like you were managing them pretty well?
Well, we were defending on our probably 30 meters from our goal. But yeah, we just gave everything. We knew that's going to happen, and yeah, it's part of the game. Sometimes you don't have always the ball, especially against City away. So yeah, but yeah, as I said, happy to take the 3 points.
So Mo, they've caused you a lot of pain over the years, and to be fair, you've caused them some as well. But what does it mean to come here and win?
It's special, to be fair, especially when you're running to the title race. It's incredible. They won like 4 in a row now. It's an incredible team. But hopefully we just keep calm, because sometimes the pressure get into us. So hopefully we just keep calm and just play our game and try to win each game.
Is that key, Dom, that you stay calm now? You heard the fans at the end singing, "We're going to win the league." I can tell you that us in the media are going to get a bit giddy. You guys have got to go out and win, what, 7, 8, 9 more games. So you're the ones that have to stay cool.
I didn't hear it. I was so tired. So
you are exhausted, aren't you?
No, we have to keep going. It's gonna be a tough game home against Newcastle, and then yeah, as you said, 11 more games, 12 games to go. It's never end. So we have to keep calm. We have to keep going. We have to take the games by game, and yeah. At the end, hopefully, we're going to be on the top.
Just tell us about your contribution today. I'd say you're one of the unsung heroes of this team, but a really nicely weighted flick to make the corner routine happen, and then a goal of your own as well.
No, he just said it was not the best assist. I gave it to him.
What?
The ball was not supposed to come in that area.
Oh, well, I mean...
No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah. Yeah, we practiced it yesterday, and... yeah, hopefully we can do it even more times. Finally, he could also find me. It's not happened all the time. But yeah, I'm happy to score also and give him an assist.
Yeah, he's having a little dig back there, Mo, isn't he?
He's still a kid, so I wouldn't give him back, so it's fine.
Do you know what? I've run out of questions for you, really. But you're now at 30 goals for the season, all competitions, 5th time in 8 seasons. Are you better than ever?
I don't know. It's opinion. Maybe people prefer my first season. People prefer now, but I think I prefer now because it's just winning the league, you doing your best, and helping the team, helping young players as well. It's incredible. Yeah, probably this year. Yeah.
Do you need another title? And does it feel close now?
I wouldn't say it feels close. It's just like we need another title for sure. Me and the big guys here in the team, we need another title. But yeah, we'll give it our best and we'll give it a good shot, and we'll see.
Well done today. Player of the match amid some controversy and a slightly angry Szoboszlai. Mo Salah.
Again, thank you. Thank you.
But match awards himself, hasn't he? I think, Daniel, one of the features, it feels like, of this run towards the title for Liverpool is how they have managed to keep stress away, to keep nerves completely out of the picture. It looks so effortless at times today.
I think that the calmness of the manager and the experience of the spine of the team, the experienced players that they've got in Alisson, Verge, Mo, who have been in these moments, many times. Obviously, they've failed at times coming here as well. And throughout the season, I think they've performed unbelievable. They've been consistent. And I think that's not a trait that is respected a lot of the time, because I think sometimes, when you're talking about the best players in teams, sometimes they're top, sometimes they're not. But when you're looking at the big names for Liverpool, the goalkeeper when he's been playing, Verge has been a revelation this season, and Mo's numbers, I mean, he's on a record pace right now. So you have to say to them that even though the players are older, it seems as if they're like fine wine, baby. They're just getting better as time goes on. So give them a lot of credit. And the manager, what he's done to come into the squad, into the club, and get the squad to play his style and almost take on his personality in terms of how calm they are in games. They seem to stick to his game plan quite often. Today, the tactics were different. But again, they come out here, they do whatever they need to do, and as you said, they adapt. So I'm really impressed. Spearheaded by a sensational season from Mo Salah, as Patrick was alluding to in the questions, and we'll come on to talk about just what an extraordinary year it's been for Mo Salah, from someone else to come from the pack.
No, I think if Arsenal had a fully fit squad, maybe, but no Saka, losing Havertz. I mean, I just don't have anyone at top. I think if you look at Arsenal probably kicking himself in January that they didn't bring anyone in. Of course, you don't know you're going to get injuries. But I just think this Liverpool team can adapt. They've played the heavy metal football and then they go back to playing a low block and then can counter-attack. I think everything about this team is just sensational. It's finding a way to win. And at times I've watched Liverpool this season, I don't think they've been scintillating. I don't, but I think they've managed their moments really well. Daniel talked about the key players in the team. The spine is incredibly good and they hardly get injured. That is a main factor. Jamie talked about Liverpool before and Van Dijk, that season when they didn't compete, he was injured. But when you've got someone like that at the back, it makes a massive difference. You can just see the confidence oozing out of him. And we'll talk about Mo Salah a bit later.
The star men turn up every week.
Correct.
The star men turn up every week. That's what you need. And you obviously need a helping hand along the way. But the only thing we keep saying, we're looking at Arsenal and go, Arsenal needs to do better, but you need other teams to do better. You can't just keep looking at Arsenal to be them challengers. They've obviously come up short and maybe, again, missing that striker. But it's up to the other teams and some of the other top teams to start competing. I know we've been critical of Arsenal for slacking off recently, but you need one or two other teams to compete as well.
Last few years, what Liverpool have done, or the quality players that they've got, and how good a team they've been, they haven't won enough. And I'm not criticising them really. The competition's been so strong. And you look at Manchester City, arguably, 4 titles in a row, winning a treble, a domestic treble as well. Arguably the greatest sort of Premier League team we've seen, or certainly era, is Pep Guardiola, and that's what this Liverpool team have come up against. And when you actually look at what they've won, it isn't enough, or maybe you could frame it a different way. They probably deserved a little bit more. I mean, they've lost, I think, at least 2 Champions League finals, lost the Premier League on the last day of the season twice as well, with sort of record numbers in terms of points. So, yeah, I think what Mo Salah said there as well, legacy-wise in terms of winning things, because you've got to think of the club that you play for. This is a club who's got as good a history as probably any club in world football. So you talk about putting these players up against, the goalkeeper up against Ray Clements, or Virgil van Dijk up against Alan Hansen. These guys have won 6, 7 titles.
Could this team do that, Jim? Do you think if he keeps some of the star men there, obviously recruitment again in the summer, that they could try and win it for the next 2? They look at City and think City might need a year or 2 to rebuild themselves. Is that the challenge now for this team?
Yeah.
You win the league, kick on for the next 2 or 3 years.
You know that better than anybody about winning and going again. I do think Liverpool were a little bit unfortunate the year they won the league. Van Dijk gets the big injury, a cruciate, something like that's hard to sort of replace. But what I would say is an exciting thing for Liverpool is Slot didn't buy any. He hasn't bought anyone really. They brought Chiesa in at the last minute to try and maybe cover Salah if he was injured. Now, he's going to know this squad a lot better going into next season. And if I'm being honest, he only ever uses 14 or 15 players. There's probably 4 or 5 players he doesn't rate in the squad. I'm not being critical, but he's probably thinking, OK, now I know what this team needs. And even though this team's going to go on and win the league title, I still think there's 3 positions in this team that can be improved quite a bit. It's not about bringing 4 or 5 players in and squad players and improving the team or a certain area. What positions would you say? I think Liverpool could bring a left-back in. I think they can bring a centre-forward in. And an attacking midfield player who I'm talking about actually going into the team, in sort of 3 areas, and then maybe improve, certain areas of the squad as well. So that's pretty exciting, and you would imagine Liverpool would have money to spend, because, as I said, they haven't spent anything in the last couple of years. He said this week, actually, I think, Arne Slot, that he knows now, they know now which areas of the team they want to target in the...
Then, those derby games, you never know what can happen in those types of games there. Fulham have been playing exceptional. Newcastle, they're playing against teams that, even though some of them are going to be fighting for European places, and then there's other teams in there that, when players are just playing free, and it's like, we've not really got much to play for outside of just showing ourselves and playing well. It goes the other way as well, in that at times those teams aren't necessarily, at their best. But for me, they're going to win 7 or 8 of those games. If we're being real, they're going to win 7 or 8 of those games. The key is how they do it. You know, they don't have to win in the great way of scoring 4 or 5 or whatever. It's just great if it's a 1-0, it's a 1-0.
This is what we used to do at United when we were obviously with 10, 11, 12 games to go. The manager would remind players, particularly the strikers, you score 2 goals a game now, you win the league.
What was that mentality like when you're going for it, when you got that lead?
Obviously, listen, it's more exciting for the neutral if it's a bit tight, but for you in a dressing room and you're that much clear, it's fantastic. And you think you're 11, but a couple of days later, you want to be further ahead. You just want to give that...
So are you sort of creating your own sort of paranoia that 11 is not enough?
Oh, yeah, you have to have that. You have to have that. I suppose that you're a bit of tension in the dressing room. Say, listen, particularly if you start looking at stats, you think if you slip up now, you'd be a laughing stock. So you keep yourself... You're looking at the players there getting interviewed afterwards, and obviously they're probably low-key a little about it. But in the dressing room, you know what a big result is. The manager knows, the opposition will know, but you still let them have to kick on. And
but did you tell the players that as a captain, when just keep your head, or what sort of environment?
Yeah, you would be reminding people, but about being complacent and being on your toes. You'd have a good squad members. Obviously, the manager would do it. The senior players would do it. You make sure you don't slack off in training. Or you look at some of the fixtures there, for example, and you're thinking you're playing Southampton at home, but you treat Southampton like you're playing Real Madrid. You treat teams with respect. And if they carry on doing what they're doing, then they don't have to... Liverpool don't have to do anything extraordinary. You know, just do what they're doing, be efficient. The 2 goals a game is a big one. It's a kind of simple message going, you get them, which you've been doing all season anyway, at least 2 goals a game, you're guaranteed to win the league.
I think when you're speaking, and I'm speaking, because you're speaking about the team that you support, you're always thinking, oh, I don't want to say that in case it comes back and haunt me. But if Man City were in that position or Arsenal in that position...
You'd say it's done.
It's done.
I've said that.
I know,
so come on, have a bit of conviction.
I do think it's done. And it's not just because of the league. My point being is, what you've got to remember is this Liverpool team have only really lost 1 game of any significance, which was Nottingham Forest. They lost in the Champions League in the dead rubber. They lost in an FA Cup when they changed the whole team. And they lost in a first leg against Tottenham, which was basically half-time. The tie wasn't over. So really, when you go through the season, this is a team who just don't lose games. And Arsenal, I think if Arsenal have got a fully fit team and Liverpool are fully fit, there's probably very little in it. If they played in a cup final, it's a toss of a coin. But with the injuries they've got, the players that they've had sent off, they've had a little bit of, unfortunate times, at times their own fault, as yesterday was. But Arsenal aren't good enough. They've got Marino up front. He's a midfield player. You can't win the league with that. So I think, the lead and how good this Liverpool team has been, there's no one catching Liverpool.
We keep looking at teams, you go, oh, that's a tough game. Everything's going to be tough. This was tough today. But they turn up.
Yeah.
Yep, they just keep on trucking.
I mean, you couldn't have worked it any better, could you? Because Slobber's touch was lovely. Mo didn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to... He's not leaning back. He gets over the ball. I mean, they get a bit of fortune with the deflection, but it worked perfectly well.
Yeah, and you heard him speaking there. He's hit 30 goals in all competitions, 5th time in his Liverpool career. I mean, you can appreciate those numbers. You can appreciate how difficult it is to get to those consistent numbers.
It's incredible. Consistency is unbelievable. I mean, yeah, what can you say about the lad? I mean, he's just a total machine. I mean, he never, ever gets injured. He's got a great attitude. Never hear a peep out of him. Of course, obviously, this contract situation is another thing. But in terms of playing, it's just been year after year after year, a constant source of goals. You know that he's, send him out there and he's virtually going to score in every game. It is quite incredible. And we joke about it. It is the hardest thing in football to score goals. And to do it consistently like he does, it's beyond, there's only a handful of people that can ever do it, let alone, can do it now. So, yeah, hats off to him. It's quite incredible.
His dedication to his job as well is really important. People speak about Cristiano Ronaldo, how he looks after himself, and Cristiano's a bit more in the public eye, doesn't he? The Mo is very reserved, and quiet and humble and stays out of the limelight. But his dedication to the sport and how he looks after himself and what he eats and what he puts in his body and how he recovers is really... And they could be playing at 37, 38, 39. So, they're teaching everybody below them the right lessons, how to really do well in this sport.
Yeah, and he just needs 1 more goal and he'll be in the top 3 of all-time Liverpool Football Club goal scorers. Now, our statistical department has been having a look at projected numbers here for Mo Salah this season. He's on 25 goals in the Premier League, projected to get 35, which would just be 1 short of Erling Haaland's record. Well, you can take the assists and the goal assists away from me, Michael. You're far more over that than I am. But he's on course, they think, to break the assists record and indeed the He's on course, they think, to break the assists record and indeed the assists and goals combined record.
Yeah. Let's hope he doesn't get injured then, because that'll be worthless, won't it? But yeah, I mean, it
depends. It's going to depend on
yeah.
what stage of the season, and if they're in the Champions League, and if they already sewn up the league, do you then rest him?
Do you start resting him?
All the best trying to do that when he's going for all those records.
I think it's more important to him that he gets all the trophies than the personal accolades, especially if it's 35 goals and someone's done it. I think he would rather be fit for the Champions League and get 30 goals than risk being injured. So, as I said, they're a great opportunity for him to etch his history, his bit in history, but I'm sure he's focused on the trophies.
And when he signed, if you'd said Mo Salah's going to be, in 8 seasons, in the top 3 Liverpool all-time record goal scorers, I mean...
If you'd said in the top 103, I wouldn't have probably believed you. I mean, genuinely, he wasn't a goal... You know, he was a really poor finisher at Chelsea, you know, at Basel before he came.
Roma.
At Roma, he started showing signs of scoring goals, which was unbelievable, but, I mean... You could.
The target was drop them and arrive in the final third for many times in the byline. How many times happened? A lot. And after that, we missed that. And because the most difficult is arrive when a team's defense so deep, like they happen. We make a good build up and left side when they happen to drop them there. What's next? And next we miss it a little bit because it's not easy. The 10 players in the box, but and of course with the crosses it's almost impossible to do it because the sides of the central defenders. But in that moment, you know, the pass and the shoot from outside, we could not find that the next step that we try to find when we drop and we arrive in the byline like we had done.
Did you target that left hand side with Jeremy against Trent? Was that a plan?
No, because Savinho have done the same. How many times Savinho arrived in the final third? So I know we have a good wingers. They defend inside, and of course Salah defend today much more than the previous games. Like stay more up front, and the team was. Listen, I know the people don't believe me, but I know when the people, because I have a little experience to know that team when we play good, really good, and today was a really good performance.
So you've played your 2 old rivals this week. Real Madrid, your big rivals in the Champions League. Liverpool, who have been your big rivals in the Premier League. What have you learned? What's it taught you?
That if you had to lose, you had to lose the way we lose today. And in Madrid it was much better. So I think both games are bad. I saw many things that the club has a bright future with the players that we have. So, except Kevin, all the players are, and maybe Nathan, all the players are so young, and they have a good dynamics. And what the club is going to decide in the next future, we have a bright future for this club in the next years.
So, is that the key actually out of today? I think you had 3 January transfer signings who started the game, all did well. Actually, maybe this was the first step for a new city, a new Man City.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows that a part, an areas for the old players will be there, will be here next season, but had to build for the next step. So it's normal. It's a question of time. But today, again, the amount of absence that we have, and even with that, we play really good against that team. I didn't see this season bring the Liverpool in the way they play most of the time. Of course, when they're getting the ball, when it's special connection, Alexander Arnold with Salah, Alexander Arnold in the middle. So Alexander Arnold is the best midfielder. So playing in a fullback, so they break the lines, they can break behind your back, and the runners that they have, Luis Diaz, Salah, Szoboszlai, and after Gapco, so it's a really threat. But we bring them there, and always I miss is that is in the final third when we arrive there. That is depends a little bit the talent, the quality to dribble one and shoot or one crosses in the right moment, knowing that is not easy. But from there we will build maybe the future.
Okay, so last question then: how much will it take to get this new Man City back up to Liverpool's level? Not just on a one-off game, but over a 38-game season.
No, we're away. We're far away. We'll see in the future. So what we have done in this previous seasons have been good, but now we are away from them. But we knew it. But the way we behave and we
we play with the personality we play was really good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
My mouth. I mean, that's got to be the question right now for Manchester City. Can this team be challenging for the title next season? What's it going to take?
I think it's going to take reflection. I think this season's not being good enough by their standards. I think they've lost a lot of energy in that midfield area. We talked about Rodri a couple of months ago, losing him. It was obviously massive. Gonzalez has come into the team. And confidence, get the confidence back. Players like Phil Foden, who was outstanding last season, doesn't seem to be playing at the same level this season. And bringing in new faces, Mamouche looks good. Gonzalez, who I mentioned, looks good. Kusanov is only a 20-year-old kid, brought in a Reece, the Brazilian defender as well. A couple of injuries to come back with Haaland. I think the future's bright for Man City. I just think they're going through a time where the energy is lacking, the confidence is lacking, injuries at the wrong time. But I think next season they'll be back.
But has the transition in some ways got a long way to go for Manchester City? And I ask the question because they've used more players 29 or over than anyone else, bar West Ham United so far this season. And of course, that's not a good sign when you're thinking about players being at their peak years at what, between 25 and 28, maybe slightly older in some cases, like Mo Salah, but 40% of the players they've used this season have been in that older age bracket.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think if you look at Liverpool's top players, you know, how old's Virgil, how old's Salah, he's still doing it at that age. I just think...
But they can't all be that age, can they?
They can't all be that age, yeah, and they found it difficult. I think energy, like I said, has been the problem for Man City. I think bringing Gundogan from Barcelona because he knew the system, I thought he would slot in and be, you know, brilliant again this season. It's not quite worked for them. Where City were at their brilliant best is when they could press and get the ball back within 5 seconds. At the moment, they can't do it.
Do you think it would be wrong, Roy, for a total clear-out? If we're talking about players like Kevin De Bruyne, Kyle Walker's obviously on loan right now, Gundogan, John Stones, I think he's out of contract. Then others are close to that in terms of Ederson and Jack Grealish.
I think some of them players will be under pressure. Obviously, whether Pep wants to keep them, it depends on the contract situation. I think De Bruyne's contract's up. So you're thinking them lads would automatically probably move on because Pep...
And would that be the right thing?
Probably. There comes a time where we've all been there. You get a bit older. Particularly when you're playing in midfield and it's tough going, and the manager has to make that decision. He's obviously got to look at the bigger picture. But I wouldn't be panicking from City's point of view. They've recruited. They'll have a look again in the summer. And some of the players will move on. Some of the senior players. That's just the nature of the beast.
What you've got to remember is Liverpool were in this position a couple of years ago, and they got the recruitment right in terms of, you know, you look at that midfield. Well, McAllister, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai. So they're not players this season. They were brought on the back of Liverpool being in a similar situation that Man City are now. They were fighting to make sure they got in the Champions League. They had Henderson and Fabinho there who'd be an absolute, you know, stalwarts for the club, but they needed to move on. And it's just about getting the recruitment right. If City get those 2 or 3 players right in that midfield, and let's not forget, the recruitment's already started, you know, with Mamouche and Gonzalez coming in. If they get that right, of course they'll be back challenging next season.
This was January's spend, and it was totalling 176 million, so more spent in this January under Pep Guardiola than in the previous 7 combined January's. So the intent there is pretty clear. And just to throw into that mix, incidentally, they've fielded today the joint youngest 11 in the Premier League under Pep Guardiola at 25.68. So it wasn't an old side that we saw today. It was featuring 3 of these players who have come in. Does that tell us that they are going to try and bring that age down, Daniel?
Yeah, but you know, this team that they've been here challenging for so many years, and at some point, you know, they're going to move on. So it is about bringing new faces in. They've got Haaland up front, perfect age. He's not really got anybody challenging him, so maybe they'll bring in another striker as well and say, OK, we'll have another option. They had Alvarez before. You know, Mamouche maybe does what Kevin De Bruyne is, similar thing to Kevin De Bruyne, as well as Foden, who's been quite flexible in position. So outside of that, when you look at the ages, I think it's more the midfield and the defence that are older. The attack's still really young. They're still in early 20s.
It'd be interesting, like people like Jack. What would he do with Grealish?
What would you do with him? Take him on a night out?
No, Jack. No, I think Jack could be under pressure. You know, where Pep's looked at Jack and he's picking up injuries and lifestyles and all that type of scenario. And we look some big games last year where he didn't even bring him on. I think Jack might be under pressure. Whether Pep wants to maybe move him on, I think that'd be an interesting one. Where the other ones I think are straightforward. The older players, 32, 33 contracts are up. You think that's an easy decision. But I think there will be a few players under pressure whether the Pep wants to get rid of him.
When you think of the wide players City have had in the past, when they've won the titles, the short in that area now. I mean, listen, Doku is the type of player, if you were playing against him, it would be a nightmare. But I'm not sure you'd love playing with him. You know what I mean? I don't think he actually gives you that much. As I said, he was tough for Trent to come up against today. And, you know, we've been in that position. You think you come off the pitch and think, oh... But sometimes when you've got a player like that in your team, there's no real end product there. So I think of some of the wide players that you think of Sane, you think of Raheem Sterling, you think of Mahrez. Savino's looked all right since he's come in.
He's only young as well.
I think that's definitely an area they need to improve.
And Pep made the point there, but the second half, Liverpool were sitting in. But Man City are used to that. They're used to teams sitting in. But what they do, they have the quality or they have the presence in the middle of the box. Obviously, Haaland's a huge lot. Rodri is massive, obviously. But this City team is used to that. They're used to kind of passing and probing. But now you look at it, you go, when Liverpool were sitting there, you're going, there's nothing there for you. You're not.
Well, they did play well today, Man City, didn't they?
We're
talking about
in the first half, definitely.
I think against Madrid. Madrid was a game where we was doing the game there, and it looked like there was a different level in class at times when Mbappe was on the ball.
Would you say the same about this a little bit?
But no, I think today they played a little bit better. I think today was more cutting edge up front. So Doku got down one wing, Savino down the other, but had no Haaland. We're getting crosses in there to a false nine, Foden, who couldn't get in there. They just
keep the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper.
If they want to play out from the back, Ederson can still do a job. Yeah. Obviously, the better keepers who can use a hand, you know.
That's the future then for Manchester City. What about the right now? And of course, we're talking about a club that's used to winning things. They want to be involved in the Champions League competition. And right now, they're sitting pretty in 4th place. But look at that queue of clubs all the way down to Fulham with 39. Even Brentford, you could say, on 37. Is it guaranteed that City are playing Champions League football next season?
Not guaranteed, of course not. There's plenty of clubs there, as we can see. But they've got a guy up front who's hungry. The team will be hungry to ensure that they're there. The last thing they want to do now is not be in the Champions League. So I think their mentality is just going to be, listen, whatever we do, lads, we make sure we get ourselves in that Champions League next season, because that also impacts players you attract as well, and players want to play Champions League football. So it's important for them to ensure that they're in that, for recruitment purposes.
I think they will. A few weeks ago I said they wouldn't, and the reason being was I looked at this run of fixtures, and I think it was, obviously they had Chelsea, they had Newcastle home, they had Liverpool, I think they go away to Tottenham midweek. So we're almost at the end of that really tough run, and the reason I say Tottenham away is because notoriously Pep Guardiola and even Man City, for how great they've been, they always struggle at Tottenham. I actually thought after those run of games they might be 6th or 7th. They're actually still in the top 4 now, so I think the fact that they're there now, I think they'll be fine in terms of Champions League.
And going back to next season, in some ways, have they got a little advantage because the rebuild has already started?
Yeah, I would say so. But I think it's not just a rebuild. Pep's got a certain way of playing, hasn't he? I think you said it earlier on, when it could take players a year, 18 months to get used to the system, and that's what they've got to get used to. Exciting, some young players look good. Mamouche looks very good. Haaland back in the team. I like the relationship that they two was building up. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes out. I think it's tough because of the level they've dropped to right now, but going forward, I think they're in good shape.
That Club World Cup, I don't think it'll be a help. I think it'll be a bit of a nightmare for them in terms of sort of almost just... Probably everyone at City just needs a break at the end of the season. What they've done is absolutely amazing. It's been a season they didn't expect, and they almost just need to get to the summer and clear the heads, and that's just a nightmare for them.
Does the manager need a break? Do you think when you see him, when you observe him in interviews and on the side of the pitch, that he has the enthusiasm for what it's going to take?
Yeah, I think so, but it looks... These results have beaten him up as well, which is great to see, because I think Pep always looks fresh, but I go back to management. You look at most managers who were winning every weekend, they look fantastic. But when they're losing, or the game beats you up. I've said that before. And it's great to see Pep looking a bit tired. I thought he was like a robot for a while. I tell you, he looks fresh as a daisy. It's definitely taken its toll on him. But I think when obviously he signed a new deal, and I still think that hunger's still there for him. He'll be hurt now, but if they can finish top 4 and don't be writing him off for the FA Cup, that's not such a bad season.
How are you looking now after putting the managers aside?
Me?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
I feel okay, yeah.
You look great, Roy. You look great.
Years younger. Arne Slot is looking pretty cool right